Well, good afternoon. This is Jeff Marshall, the president of SCAI for 2012 and 2013, coming to you live from Orlando, Florida at a national meeting. I have the honor today to be with Dr. Ron Waksman. Ron, welcome.
Thank you.
And what are you doing these days up at MedStar? What's your clinical and research responsibilities these days?
So I'm still doing interventions, but I'm also the Associate Director of Division of Cardiology and Director of Cardiovascular Research at MedStar Heart.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you have a fascinating late breaker for us called VERITAS, and it's actually fascinating. I think it's probably one of the most interesting things I've seen. Why don't you tell us how this started?
Thank you. So, as you know, there is a controversy about the safety of live case. And this has started, almost with the beginning of the field with Andreas Grunzig. But it is in debate. There are several societies that actually ban to do live cases, the surgical societies, the cardiac surgical societies. And there were some questions even from FDA about the safety of patients, primarily with investigational device. So what triggered us to do this study was that as we run courses like SCAI, CRT, TCT, we found out that we cannot transmit live cases with TAVR because the FDA would not allow us since they were concerned about the safety. So we actually wanted to challenge that, and the way to challenge that is to do a study. So we came with a proposal to FDA, let's do a study and find out, is there really a concern? And surprisingly, they were interested and they were willing even to give us a grant to perform the study. So the study is co-sponsored by MedStar and also by FDA.
Now that's got to be a first.
The first. Hopefully there will be many to follow.
One of many. That's good. But it's nice to see, innovators like yourself working a little more closely with the FDA like that. So the FDA says, hey, we don't want you to do investigational TAVRs. We don't want you to transmit them. So how did you approach them about that? And did you kind of work out the protocol with them, or did you just kind of present it to them and basically sold it to them, got the grant?
So no, we have to submit a protocol, and the intent of the FDA is clearly good. I mean, they want to make sure that if they release this to live cases, it's not going to be compromising any patient safety, which is the first charter of the FDA. So we submitted a protocol. In order to make it happen, we thought that we should focus on international sites because we want to get as many cases as we can in a reasonable time. We don't want to drag it forever, and to see if there is any signal of safety. So we actually chosen sites outside of the US that are experiencing live cases, they're transmitting to the major cardiovascular meetings, and they also have a TAVR program. And we included about 6 sites in the US. Towards the end of the study, when the device became commercially in the US, we were allowed, obviously, to use our own site. But the majority of the patients were outside of the US. So we have 4 patients from the Washington Hospital Center that we contributed to this series.
Good. And so how did you perform this? Did you match the patients? What did you do?
Yeah, so this is basically a match control study. We actually asked all the sites to provide us all the patients that were done consecutively, and to match to the same patient, a patient that was done in the same week. If it was using the Edwards, it would be the Edwards. If it's transfemoral, it's transfemoral, transapical, core valve. So we matched 46 patients on each arm, and we left with 18 patients that we couldn't match them. But because we wanted to include everyone, we took them also into the series.
Great. And what did you find?
So we found out that overall there are no safety issues, which is the good thing to find out. The mortality rate was 2.2% in the case and about 4.4% in the control arm. It was not statistically significant because the numbers are small.
Sure.
But I think for the things that are related to the procedure itself, fluoroscopy time, it's about the same. Contrast, slightly higher, 20 cc's more. The procedure time was a little bit longer because you wait until you get live and you explain, so it's a little bit lengthy, but not by a lot. It was about 20 minutes longer than the control. So but it was not associated with any increase in vascular complication, anesthesia, length of stay. All those parameters were the same. And also we used the VARC definition.
Okay.
There was no differences between the case and the control. So overall, in the hands of those operators, it was safe to do those.
Well, they were high volume guys too, I think.
They high volume guys, and they also experience in live cases. So I think it is important to say that a lot of people like to do live cases, but this is a profession by itself.
It is.
You need
That's
to
right.
know how to do live cases. It's obviously you can hook yourself a microphone, look at the camera, and say, "Okay, I'm doing it. I'm live." But you basically have to have three people there. One that will do the case, the other one that will help to do the case, and the third would be a commentator.
Yes.
So that's where you don't distract the main
The
operator
operator.
from the case.
Exactly.
I think that's a key.
That is a key.
And indeed, when you look how many operators were involved in the case, there were about 3. If you look in the control, there was a little bit less, 2 point something.
Gotcha.
So it does suggest that you need to prepare yourself to do the live case, but if you do it with the right hands, with the right operators, and also high volume centers, you're not going to get into any trouble, and you'll be able to add this as an educational piece for the rest of the community.
So what has your funding source said about this interesting study?
Well, I think that they were intrigued by the results as well. I didn't get any commitment that they will change the policy. Obviously, TAVR is now approved. But I have a very strong conviction that FDA is doing their action based on data. And although this study is small and has some limitations, I think it will make an impact on decision with investigational device in the future to allow selectively to get them into live case in the US while they're still under investigation, under certain conditions, obviously.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you run a very large course and you do some live cases. What do you think the advantages or disadvantages of live cases versus taped cases are? What's just your gestalt on that?
I think there is a huge advantage for live cases because there is not this editing piece. I mean, I think that the audience, the attending, wants to see exactly how do you solve the problem as they are. And when you come to taped cases, there is a lot of room for editing. You don't do exactly how you do it on the real world when you're sweating under the lead. And I think there is also a lot of educational pieces that you can get. Taped cases also has value. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's a different tier. And it's interesting that in our course, when we do live cases, the room is always full. I mean, there is a lot of interest, and it's been going for years for new devices and for also old devices and old techniques. But I think this is a great opportunity to introduce a new technology, not only to those who will do the procedures, but if I'm a referral physician and I want to explain to my patient that he's undergoing TAVR or left atrial appendage closure, if I see the procedure by myself and I see what are the issues, I have an opinion. I can share it. I can tell to my patient, hey, I saw it. I saw it in the course. I know what this is all entail. It's not like someone told me. So I think it's a huge educational advantage.
Yeah, I do too. And I really appreciate it, Ron. We're here with Ron Waksman with a very interesting study called VERITAS. I hope that the FDA looks at your data, listens to your data, and that you open the gate wide for everybody else doing live cases. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the
Good
opportunity.
to see you. Thanks,
Thank
Ron.
you.